Welcome back to Cisco Knowledge Base. This is Zach from Content Security Team. Today we'll discuss a functionality that has been added with the Async OS version 8.5 and above. It's known as a bandwidth and time quota on Web Security Appliance. As for the user guide and release notes, these are the link. The www.cisco.com page where all the user guides been posted. Once this release is available for all our customers and complete the beta and limited availability, it will be posted here. So what exactly the time quotas and bandwidth it provides? The time and volume quotas allow administrator to configure policy and restrict access. We can do based on time. We can also do based on how much quotas per user or per policy can be applied. If we have a multiple quotas, then the most restrictive would be applied. This applies for HTTP, HTTPS, and FTP traffic. Some of the use cases. The quota can be applicable for HTTP, HTTPS, and FTP traffic. Can be configured for under access policy or decryption policy. And also we can add the time range. For example, in a business hour between 9 to 5, we can restrict access to minimal or even block. Quotas are reset daily, and reset times can be configurable. So as we said before, when one or more quotas are applicable, the most restrictive will be applied. These are per user base. When the user identity is not available, then is applied per IP address, which is the client IP address. So use cases. So as an administrator, I can have a policy set to limit for 1 hour for 50 meg, 20 meg, 10 meg, or 2 meg, or any amount that we like in meg, kilobits, kilobytes, or gigs for a surfing per day, especially on the business hours. Or I can tie with the social networking for limited amount of time can be applied or allowed for per user based policies or for entertainment for that matter. Then limit the access for social networking, and it's also enhance the productivity at the same time, especially business hours 9 to 5. So when the user reaches the quota, what happens? We can trigger an end user notification to give them a heads up that you're about to come up to limit the quota, and subsequent it can block the page. We can also put a %, or we can disable this functionality by default as well. So it's the config part. Config is fairly simple. We'll look at the GUI part. First, you're going to create a quota profile under Web Security Manager. I can do a time and range. I can add the time, then the volume. In addition, once we have the access policy that tie with the decryption, with the quota and time range, I can apply it for access policy or decryption policy for that matter. Same steps, and we'll go through one. The last one is for end user warning page. This is to display a warning page on the client network when the clients are about to approach their daily quotas of the time or the volume expiring or reaching almost to their limits, and we'll do that as well. For the logs to look at it, which all these transactions are being logged for review, are in the access log and a proxy log. For troubleshooting, we can look at the quota where it can be enabled from the command line. We can also look at the quota query command, which gives us the ability to search per user, or we can reset all on demand as needed. Then we'll talk about some of the caveats. Some of the websites such as Facebook, Gmail, they have frequent auto updates. This will count against the quota on the access policy or decryption policy. So if I have a quota set for 5 meg and that day the Facebook or Gmail, those accounts are very chatty or they updated something new and is triggering a lot of objects and pages and updates, that will count all against my quota. So displaying the warning page, it could be interrupted, and during possibility when you are surfing the web as well, it may not show. Third one is fairly important. If the proxy restarts, what happens? You cause the quota information to reset and allow user to access more than planned. So for FTP data, the download and upload. So if a user is uploading or downloading a data file to an FTP server, that counts against the quota, but the control traffic is not, which is the connections. Access logs. So these are the simple access log which show what happens. Block webcat, these are demo policy. For the quota approaching, these will be the warnings or block admin overall quota, actually. And I have a demo policy and demo ID, block overall. This is a sample for the proxy logs. That volume quota exceeded, and it tells you the client IP as well. And now it's blocked. So if a user is complaining about why am I not able to get out and surf the internet anymore, then we can come back here, look at the proxy logs or access log. It will tell the story what happened. And here's the review. So quickly, let's go configure this. So for configuring stuff, we'll follow this here from the GUI. So under Web Security Manager, time range, and quotas. Web Security Manager, time range, and quotas. I have configured a demo time range. I can show you. In my demo time range, I have this is just a free description text name, and use the time zone setting from the appliance. And I'm a bit more aggressive here. If you look at Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I'm blocking all day. So administrator can choose which day of the week that be according to their business needs. Could be better. So that can be modified here. Same page for the quotas, on my demo quotas that I have. Again, it's the name. I can set manually what time to be reset. I left the default 12 a.m. Again, use the time zone for appliance. I can also select a predefined time range profile for time-based access list. Here the quotas, and if you look at it for the lab demo purpose, I set to 1 KB, which is pretty insane. 1 KB, I can go in the meg, I can go in the gigabit. So that's for the demo purpose, 1 KB. So that's for the part to configuring time range and quota. Let's go back to our instructions. Then the part comes in to tie. Before we do that, let's configure and make sure the end user warning page. That's under security services, end user notification, edit setting, and it's under the time and volume quota expiry warning. Let's go there. Security services, end user notification, edit setting. If you scroll down on the bottom of the page, that's where the new setting will take place. Time and volume quota expiry warning. I can put any percent. I can put in 50%. We start giving a warning. Amount of time left, I can do that. So these are these variables can be configured here. So it's under time and volume quota expiry warning. As to tie all these config what we just did, we'll go under Web Security Manager. We can do under Access Policy, under URL filtering. And then we can check for quota base and time base columns. We can repeat these steps if needed for decryption policies as well. So let's do that. So just to recap, we created these time range called demo time range and demo quotas. We're going to tie these to access policy. Security Manager, access policies. We'll go under URL filtering. So for testing, what I would like to do, the entertainment category, we'll change that. So if you look at the column, this column is the quota base. This is the time base. So if I check that, I'll select my time range. I'll pick my policy, date, and time range. What action do I want to do? I can block, monitor, or warning. Or I can also use the global setting as well. So let's block it at this point. Otherwise, if the time, it's not in this policy, what do you want to do? Otherwise, so that we want to just either monitor or warning. So let's monitor. For quota base, my quota base is the demo quota. That's the one I configured it. So we are done. I say submit. So there was no change made. I had applied this before, so that's why we don't see anything to commit. Otherwise, you will see to commit this change. To test it, fairly quick, let's make sure we are grabbing the log. That's my command line, access log. What we'll do is we'll point explicit connection. So since we set 1 KB for our quota, and if you remember the category was entertainment. So we'll pick one side for entertainment. We'll test with www.abc.com. So as soon as I did that, since it was 1K only, I get this the user notification, do not have a sufficient quota volume to complete this transaction, and it closes that. This is for the URL category because my quota has been expired. The warning would be different if I have coming close to it for my quota to be complete. Let's look at the log. So if I look at my access log, that's denied. This is my website, abc.com. Decision tag, if you look at the block admin overall quota, so the limit _12. So this tells me this decision tag message that this is blocked by admin. Overall quota is limit approaches. And this is my policy. That's the demo policy that I've created and demo identity on the machine. This is just the identity and access policy, nothing new there. I can do exact same thing under HTTPS. So let's take this out. So just like we did under access policy, we can do exact same thing under decryption policy. And if you remember, it was under URL filter. And these are the column, quota base and time base. And in our case, entertainment, I'll do this, entertainment. We can do a time range. We can do set to pass through, monitor, decrypt, because if I pass through it, it will allow it. If I decrypt, then it jump over to access policy and take an effect there. Or I can just drop it simply. So that's for the time base. for the quota base, which is next column over here. If you look at it, if I pick a demo quota, that's my policy. The message on the bottom says, by selecting a quota for HTTPS traffic, you will be treated as a pass-through and will not be declared. So apply the quota, we need to go under access policy, which we did. So the access log will display it same fashion as we looked at it earlier, which is client IP address, and these are all pretty standard what we have today, abc.com, and tag, policy, and identity. Let's go back to our notes. So that's what we saw in the logs, that similar to what we see here for abc.com, block admin overall quotas, and then block admin overall quotas again here. But on the proxy log, this will be the smoking gun. Very critical. So with that brings us to review. So this functionality, configuring bandwidth and time quota on web security appliance, it's available version 8.5 and above. All the documentation posted under these links will be, once it's available, as a GA release, and the release notes as well. Some of the caveats, why do we want to use it, what's the functionality, possible use case, and stepping through the command line or the GUI, how you configure it and apply it, including end user warning page as well. Some of the caveats, FTP data, download, upload, and if the proxy restarts it causes the quota to reset, and a couple of others. With that brings us to the end of this presentation. Thank you so much for joining and watching this video. Thanks for your time again. Have a good day, have a good afternoon, have a good evening. Thank you.